This is Dr. Krista Lay, host of SEL in EDU, a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Each show on the network is independently owned, and the views expressed may not represent those of other podcasts. For the best educational podcasts, visit edupodcastnetwork.com.
Coming up on episode 265 of the House of EdTech podcast, it is the 2025 House of EdTech SmackDown. Strike up the band. Welcome to the House of EdTech. My name is Chris Nesi. The House of EdTech launched in 2014, giving me the opportunity to speak with teachers, leaders, and creators so you can more effectively integrate technology, strengthen your pedagogy, and have more confidence in your classroom and school so you can make an impact. Get involved with the podcast by visiting my website, chrisnesi.com. Using technology isn't difficult, and this is where it begins. This is the House of EdTech. Welcome back to another episode of the House of EdTech podcast. I am your host, Chris Nesi. It is the end of 2025. Happy holidays to you and yours. May the sun shine bright. May the new year bring you happiness and joy. About as much happiness and joy as I know this episode is going to bring you. This is the 12th edition of the EdTech SmackDown. This has to be by far my favorite episode to do of the podcast each and every year. And this goes back to 2014, year one of House of EdTech. And here we are. I think that was episode number 26, the first one. And here we are doing episode 265. So very, very excited. All right. We have a number of people who submitted, and I'm going to be honest, I was nervous at the end of November here in 2025 because I hadn't gotten a lot of submissions. I think I had one or two. Stephanie Howell, who you will hear from in just a few minutes, she was the first one to submit something, and I wasn't getting anything. I even took the time to put out a special bonus episode to encourage people like yourself to submit, and people came through. Now, if you didn't come through this year, that's okay. I still appreciate the fact that you're listening, and maybe in a future episode, you'll share something, or maybe in 2026, you'll submit to the 13th annual House of EdTech SmackDown. All right, I've got an EdTech thought, and then we are going to dive into the submissions I got. And of course, I've also done some research, and I've got some great tools and tips and apps and things that I'm going to be sharing with you in this episode. So we're going to get right into this, but I do want to encourage you to make sure that you go to, this is the show notes episode for this page, chrisnesi.com/265. And that'll have everything from this episode that is shared by myself and all the people who contributed. But I also want to remind you that you can also go to appsmackdown.com, and that will take you to a Google Sheet that is maintained by Derek Larson, who you will hear from later in this episode because he comes through year after year. So that's a spreadsheet that he maintains that chronicles all of the submissions from every episode, all the people who share, how you can connect with them online. So thank you to Derek Larson for doing that. That is appsmackdown.com. And of course, if you want to get right to this year's, they are a swipe or a tap away where you're listening right now, which I appreciate. But I also want to encourage you to share this episode. Go out onto X, go out onto Blue Sky, go out onto Instagram, go make a TikTok about this episode. Please share this episode as we finish up 2025 and we head into 2026. Without further ado, let's get into this episode's EdTech Thought. The calendar flip is not optional. Neither should our mindset shift be. As we move from December to January, there's a natural urge to reset. New year, new goals, new tools. In education, And especially with education technology, you and I often treat the calendar flip like permission to start over. But meaningful technology integration doesn't actually care what month it is. The real shift isn't about turning the page on the calendar. It's about turning the page on how and why we use technology. December tends to be reflective. We look back at what worked, what didn't, and we consider our life's choices. When it comes to our profession, we will think about which tools sat unused despite our best intentions. January often becomes inspirational, and we have these great aspirations to start fresh and, do more, whether it's go to the gym, start a podcast, use that new EdTech tool. We make plans to try more EdTech, be more innovative, or finally use the tool that everybody's talking about. Here's the challenge and the opportunity. Technology integration works best when it is iterative, not seasonal. You don't need a new year to simplify a workflow that's wasting time. You don't need a new year to replace a digital worksheet with a tool that invites creativity. You don't need a new year to use technology to amplify student voice instead of just delivering the content. And you don't need a perfect starting point either. Great EdTech integration happens in the middle of the mess, mid-semester, mid-unit, mid-year. When a teacher pauses and asks, is there a better way to do this? So whether you're listening in January, June, October, the takeaway is the same. Don't wait for the calendar to change before changing your practice. Start small. Reflect often. Adjust intentionally. The best technology integration isn't about the tools or the new tools. It's about new thinking. And that's something you can adopt any day of the year. And that's my EdTech thought. All right, it is time for the EdTech SmackDown. We have got some great tools, and we're going to kick things off with longtime listener, the incomparable, Ohio's own, Stephanie Howell.
Hey there, Stephanie Howe here, longtime listener of the House of EdTech, and excited about this year's SmackDown. This year, I want to share about Beat the Computer. This is a writing activity that can support students in any subject, but mostly in ELA writing. What happens is students enter into a school AI space that the teacher has created. The teacher will add in the focus of the writing, the directions, and even upload a rubric. Students will write about whatever the topic is, and they're going to get a score on that assignment. Typically, students score 1, 2, or 3 out of 10 on this writing assignment. And what your students will do is they will then gather that feedback, and they will begin to work through their writing. Teachers can use that data and gather notes about every single student and create small groups based on what every single student might need in order to be successful in this writing unit. After about a week and a half, students will get feedback, they'll look at exemplars, they even challenge themselves to think about why did that student beat the computer or how can this student beat the computer? At the end of the unit, students will upload their final draft of their writing with all of the corrections. Typically, after they upload their final piece, students are scoring 8, 9s, and 10s on that assignment, and they actually beat the computer. Students get so excited about where they've been and where they're about to go by seeing that growth mindset of their scores from the beginning of the unit, scoring 1, 2, or 3, and actually scoring an 8, 9, or 10 by the end of the unit. Students are so motivated that they see this growth that they often perform really well on the end of the state test. Excited to see how you use this in your classroom to support your students in their writing.
Thank you, Stephanie. That is a great share. Now, what I'm doing is I'm going to play the submissions and I'm going to kind of bounce in between them with my own submissions here in this edition of the SmackDown. So the first thing that I want to share in the SmackDown is something that bills itself as the ultimate AI study tool. Now, I know we can probably find a million sites out there that will be promoting themselves and marketing themselves as the ultimate AI study tool. But this one has a really cool thing that I found on it. This is from Raena.ai. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I will spell it. RAENA.ai. And this has, it's freemium, so you can do some stuff for free and you can pay for it. But what you can do for free, they have a tool that will turn your notes into a brain rot video. So when we're thinking of our students scrolling on Reels or YouTube Shorts or TikTok, they come across, I mean, it's some of it's great content and some of it is just like mindless, doom scrolling. But this brain rot video feature is really, really cool. It will transform a PDF document and text files into engaging, easy to digest, short form brain rot videos using AI. And they've got a couple of options for you. You can use TikTok brain rot language. You can do ASMR mode or gossip mode. And as I'm looking on my screen at Raena.ai/brainrot, the little sample video they're showing, it looks like one of these Minecraft tour videos. And in a sample that you make, or if you make one, it's going to take your content that you give it and do some voiceover with that little AI male voice or female voice and give you the captions on the screen. And it can be 30 seconds, a minute, a little more than a minute. So if you're looking for great ways to maybe introduce a concept or create some content that your students might consume, this might be a great way to do it. So brain rot videos are just the beginning with Raena AI in general. You can unlock the full potential of all your study materials. They've got a number of AI-powered tools from smart summaries, quiz generation. They will make study podcasts and even do a little AI tutoring. But the thing that I want you to check out would definitely be this brain rot video making thing. And for free, you get access to their basic AI models. You can do one basic podcast per week, up to 2 quizzes per week, up to 2 summaries per week, up to 2 flashcards per week, up to 2 games per week, up to 2 brain rot videos per week, and up to 2 PDF uploads per week. And you get access to the personal AI tutor. Their first pay option is $6.99 a month. And that basically gets everything to the number 30 or the number 15 in terms of what you can create per day. So definitely want to check out Raena.ai and definitely play around with this brain rot feature, which I just love that term. So that is my first contribution. Next up, I got an email from Martin Byford Rue. He's the host of the EdTech Stuff podcast, which is currently taking a break, but he sent in the following email. Hi, Chris. My SmackDown suggestions are Canva Code, for the ease of which it makes traditionally complex coding activities easily accessible to the masses. And also a shout out to Microsoft 365 for the fact that Microsoft continues to innovate education applications, and they're giving consideration to security, governance, and compliance. Best wishes for the festive season, Martin. Martin, thank you so much for your submission to the House of EdTech SmackDown. Next, I want to share Genially.com, which will allow you to build interactive and gamified experiences. You can make interactive learning and communication materials with Genially's easy-to-use content creation tool. You can design fun, click-to-explore experiences that captivate your audiences. And that's GENIALLY.com. A lot of great tools on here. You basically you have the ability to do gamified experiences. It's all interactive. I'm on their website right now. It is really cool. They've got templates. So they've got e-learning. You've got stuff for gamification. You can do all sorts of things with Genially. They've got quiz builders. They have LMS integration. They have AI features. There's interactions with animations. There's analytics. You can do assessment. So you definitely want to check out all the different tools available on Genially.com. Next up, let's go over to guest and friend of the podcast, Dan Gallagher.
Hi, Chris. It's Dan Gallagher, friend of the podcast, calling to give you my recommendation for the House of EdTech 2025 SmackDown. I don't know if other educators are like me, but sometimes you're in a Google product and you're like, I wish it would do this. Case in point, I had a spreadsheet shared with multiple people, keeping track of the progress the various people are doing on multiple tabs. And I wanted a way that on the tab that I had to keep track of, it would automatically insert a timestamp knowing when the last update was made. Well, that's not really a feature that's built into Google Sheets, but Google Apps Script allows you to create a program where it will do that for you. Well, if a lot of educators are like me, don't know a lot about programming, that's where Google Gemini can come in. Google Gemini can be your best friend and help you create those programs that you're looking to do. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to go back and forth and test it out a couple of times. But what was great about it is when I described what I was looking for, and I was being very specific, it garnered the code that I'd be able to copy and paste in. When it talked about setting triggers, I don't know that. So I asked Gemini another question, a follow-up question. How do I do that? And it would walk me through the steps on how to set up a trigger and have it so that it automatically would do that whenever an edit was made in the sheet. Gemini can be a huge help when you're looking to do coding of specialized programs like a Google Apps Script.
Dan, I love this tip. And while I play with Gemini, but I'm really more of a ChatGPT fanboy. I can definitely speak to this and give another example. In a Google Sheet, I keep my own attendance of my classes aside from my student information system at the school I teach at. And in this Google Sheet that I do daily attendance on, I have codes for what I put, an X when they're present, double dash when they're absent, and, between color conditional formatting, it's green when they're there, red when they're not. I wanted a way to have it automatically insert a comment with a timestamp if a student was tardy to class. And I was able to use ChatGPT to accomplish something very similar to what you described, where going into the Google App Script, it now, when I put in a T for tardy, it automatically puts a comment on that cell in the Google Sheet with the date and the timestamp. So as long as I can get that T in when they walk in the door, it is very, very accurate in terms of when a student arrives to class late. But I love this. Not an expert coder, don't know anything about coding. Go use AI, whether it's Gemini, ChatGPT, it's going to help you. And Dan, I love the fact that you also remind us, if you need more help, ask the tool for help. Keep asking questions. You got to interact and use our human brains with the AI tools. Thank you, Dan, for submitting that. My next recommendation is 123apps.com. This is online tools for video, audio, PDF, manipulation, and file conversion. Everything on 123apps.com is a web-based tool. Video editor, screen recorder, text-to-speech, trim a video, resize a video, loop a video, change the volume, change the speed. Some audio tools. You can trim an audio that you upload, change the volume, change the speed, reverse the audio. I don't know why we're going to play it backwards, but if you want to put subliminal messaging into your audio, hey, have at it. PDF tools. Split them, add page numbers, PDF to Word, PDF to JPEG, PDF to PNG, PDF to HTML. Converters, audio converters, video converters, it's all web-based. It's all free. Go to 123apps.com. You'll thank me later. This might be the big winner of the App SmackDown, but I will leave that up to you. So when you're done with this episode, tweet at me, blue sky at me, Instagram, DM me, email me, feedback@chrisnessy.com. What do you think is the best thing that got recommended in this episode? We got a lot more to hear. Next up, we're going to go over to Dan Kreines. Dr. Dan, what do you got for us this year?
Hey, Chris and House of EdTech listeners. This is Dr. Dan Kreines of the Leader of Learning podcast and also an instructional coach for digital learning in Norwalk, Connecticut. I wanted to make sure that I got in here in the House of EdTech SmackDown for 2025 to shout out a couple of AI tools that have really been valuable for me, my school, my teachers, and my students this year. And those are, first and foremost, ChatGPT. We've been able to actually create custom GPTs or custom chatbots to empower our teachers and to improve the teaching and learning so that at the end of the day, it can hopefully produce better results in our students. One of those chatbots was for teachers to be able to infuse elements of our portrait of a graduate that our district has come up with into their instruction. And another one is to aid teachers in developing pacing guides or scope and sequence documents for their courses, because our school had a need in that area, and we wanted to make sure that everyone had access to really high quality instructional materials that then they can use with their students. So that's ChatGPT. But I also need to give a big shout out to one of my favorite, if not the favorite of mine, education-specific AI tools called Brisk or Brisk Teaching. It has been an extremely important tool for us to use at my school this year in a number of ways, and I really don't have the time to mention all of them, but one of the best ways has been to use Brisk Boost activities with students. Anyway, I really love those two AI tools because they've meant so much to me and my school.
Thank you, Dan. Great to hear your voice. I hope, and this message is just for you, Dan. So everybody else, stop listening for a second. No, don't stop listening. Dan, want to hear more podcasts in 2026. I want a new episode of Leader of Learning. Or maybe you come on the House of EdTech, or maybe I come and podcast with you. I want to hear your voice, man. We need you. We need you, Dr. Dan. All right. Something else you need is my next recommendation. And this is Chronicling America. This is a tool I found, not a tool, but website through the Library of Congress. Okay. And it is chroniclingamerica.loc.gov. And this gives you access to all sorts of digital newspapers or digitized newspapers from all over the United States. As we embark into 2026 and we celebrate a big anniversary of the United States of America, if you're a history teacher, this is a great website for you, especially if you're teaching US 1 or US 2 or APUSH or AP government, or if you want to get kids familiar with history in their area. You can go by state, by geographic region. If you're interested in personally genealogy or anything like that, go check out Chronicling America, historic American newspapers. This, I mean, we're going back 100 years ago. I'm on their page right now. It's showing me, as I'm recording this on December 21st, 2025, it's showing me 25 issues of newspapers from 100 years ago today. And Chronicling America, historic American newspapers, this provides access to select digitized newspapers produced by the National Digital Newspaper Program. This is a partnership between the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Library of Congress. It's free to use. The link is in the show notes, but again, it is chroniclingamerica.loc.gov. Next up, we got a great message from Rebecca Autry. Take it away, Rebecca.
Hi, this is Rebecca. I'm calling about the House of EdTech SmackDown, and I wanted to give my insight on Wayground, formerly known as Quizzes, as a great resource. I use it in my math class for video notes, and particularly I like putting the videos that either I created or a YouTube video and then putting questions to make sure students have watched the video and they understand what they're supposed to be learning. And then at the end of the video, the thing I like that uses the AI that is beta testing still is an open-ended question where I give them a question of whatever the material is. I have them attach their handwritten notes, and then I enable the AI. So I use it as a teaching assistant, so it grades for me. And on the rubric, you have to be, the more specific you are, the better it will determine whether the student has answered the question correctly, or they read their notes and it shows like the student put down the necessary information that I wanted them to write. And I think it's a great tool. It has been a life changer. It's like a teaching assistant for me that does the grading for me. It is not perfect, so you still have to go through every once in a while and check to see. So it has taught my students to take better pictures with their Chromebooks. It has taught them to be more careful and slow down with their handwriting, so it will read it. And they've also learned how to take better notes. So I think it's a great resource, and I'd like to add that to the EdTech SmackDown.
Thank you, Rebecca. That is a great recommendation. Links to that and everything we've talked about and will talk about out at chrisnessy.com/265. All right. My next recommendation, my next three, and I'm going to break them up because I got voicemails to play, is this is a Mac app. Not a Mac user. Don't worry. You probably know somebody who uses a Mac and you can share it with them. If you are a Mac user, this is a cool little app for your Mac computer. This is called ICE, and you can go to icemenubar.app, icemenubar.app, and this is a powerful menu bar management tool. While its primary function is hiding and showing menu bar items, the goal is to cover a wide variety of additional features to make it one of the most versatile menu bar tools available. So when you add this app, if in the upper tool, your menu bar on your Mac, whether it's MacBook, Mac Mini, whatever the case may be, you get a lot of little icons up there in the upper right-hand corner on your menu bar. This allows you to decide which ones you can see on a regular basis, and it will then hide the rest. So it is free. It is icemenubar.app. And then I will have two more Mac apps for you coming up next. Now let's go over to the host of Fresh Air at 5, the Brian Carpenter. Take it away, Mr. Carpenter.
Hey, Chris. Hey, House of EdTech community. This is Brian Carpenter from Fresh Air at 5, way up in Canada, out on the West Coast. I'm calling in to contribute to the EdTech SmackDown for 2025. I love this part of the show. I love this episode because we get to hear from others around about EdTech they are using in their space. Hey, Educational Podcast Network members, glad to hear from you as well, and glad to be part of the network. All right, so my EdTech that I want to share this year is, well, it's Adobe Express. Chris, you're like, Carpenter, do you use anything else? And the answer is, well, no. Yes, but this is such a fantastic set of tools that I love it, and it serves me well. It's my go-to graphic design tool. I use it to make static graphics. I make it for posters, postcards, greeting cards, things like that. There's so many things you can do in there. There's animate your voice, so you can say, just have kids speak into the microphone, and then a little character is animated and shares their voice. So their voice is attached to an animated character. I had my students make knock-knock jokes and dad jokes and put animations in there of the text and objects and the little character, and we shared those things. So fantastic. Hey, but that's not the reason I'm calling in. I'm calling in about animations within Adobe Express. So you can take a static graphic. You have your text, you have your icons and different parts of it, your image, and then you can animate different parts of those, makes it into a short MP4 video, makes a little video out of it, and allows you to have, these things fly in, fly out, fade out at different times. And so I learned this trick and from watching Claudio Zavella Jr. on YouTube. So you should go check him out as well, because he's an EdTech Adobe Express guru. He's works for Adobe, and it's fantastic. Anyhow, so I use these animated little videos that we make so that we can put them on our screen in our school. So screens in schools. And then how do you do that? Well, my buddy, he figured out using a website, a tool called Pi Signage, PI Signage, and it allows us to just put assets into a folder that then goes to the TV through Raspberry Pi like interface that projects it on the TV. So that way we can have stuff going on during the day. I can use my mobile device to capture images, bring it into Adobe Express, create a little video out of that, and then throw it up onto the TV so kids can see it that day. So fantastic. So reviewing Adobe Express.
Thank you, Brian. I don't know what happened with the cutoff there, but I know you love Adobe Express, and that's okay. But I'm going to challenge you, Brian Carpenter. I want you to learn another tool in 2026 and add that to your recommendation next year. All right. And because I heard you mention something about dad jokes and animation, here's a dad joke for everybody listening, and it's appropriate for the season. What's the hardest thing about learning to skate? The ice. All right. If you didn't tune out after the dad joke, here we go. Let's go to my next Mac app recommendation. And this is called Latest. You can get it at max.codes/latest. And this is a simple this is a simple software update checker. So Latest is a free and open source app for the Mac OS that checks if all your apps are up to date. You get a quick overview of which apps changed and what changed, and you can update them right away. Latest currently supports apps downloaded from the Mac App Store and apps that use Sparkle for updates, which covers most of the apps that are out there. So check it out, max.codes/latest, and make sure your Mac is running smoothly with the latest apps. My next voicemail comes to us from friend of the podcast, and from what it sounds like, actually, you know what? I will let Batsheva do this. Batsheva Frankel, what do you got for us?
Hey, Chris, this is Batsheva Frankel, the host of the podcast Overthrowing Education, which, as you know, has been on hiatus for a while, but I'm hoping to release new episodes in early 2026. In any case, it's been a minute since we last chatted, and since that time, I've gone back into the classroom teaching high school English again. After about 5 years of doing my consulting, podcasting, giving PD stuff, so I've been really excited about trying all the great new tech tools out there, and I've learned a lot from your show and from Matt Miller and others. But I think I have an awesome tech tool that you and your listeners may not have heard of yet, which is very rare. It's called QuickTales, and it's really cool. So before I was back in the classroom a while back, I came across QuickTales as a great app that I used personally. It's basically a short audio story you record attached to a photo. And I used it to document some meaningful personal items and my mom's artwork and photos that I took that I wanted to tell the stories behind to share with my family and friends. So then when I started the school year, my teacher brain kicked in and I was thinking of QuickTale uses in the classroom. So I looked into how I could make it work for education, and I was so happy that it's already set up for teachers and schools to use. So like for my personal use, I was using the mobile version, but my school doesn't allow students to have phones at all during the day. And I think this is somewhat new, or maybe I just discovered it, but they also have a web app. So that totally works for me. Also, each teacher or school can have a private organization, so students don't use the general site, just your QuickTales room. Also, the public doesn't have access to anything in your organization group. It's totally private. So here are some things I've used it for so far. I've created a private group for each of my classes, and at first I was doing things kind of like I used to do on Flip. So like I used pictures of an object, and then using the audio feature, I asked my students how the object relates to the chapter of the book we were reading. And then they left audio comments to answer me. And I made a great, quick, formative assessment. Another formative assessment I give with different literature is that students take or find a photo of an object or artwork or whatever that best represents a specific thematic idea of whatever literature we're reading. For example, we were reading Frankenstein, and I asked my students to make a quick tale with a photo that they take or they find of an image that represents the creature's sense of isolation. Then they recorded the audio that goes with it, explaining why what they chose represents that idea. So two of my favorite quick tales about the creature's sense of isolation were one by a student who used a photo of a blazing fire, and another student's photo was of a drawing she did of an empty birdcage. Then they recorded the audio that goes with it, explaining their amazing, insightful ideas of how their photos' depictions were connected to the creature's isolation. Totally creative, critical thinking at its best. And then when everyone was done, we basically had a virtual gallery walk where I had other students either ask questions or make further observations as audio comments on each other's quick tales. They really enjoyed it. This is important. Teachers have admin privileges, so you can actually preview each student's quick tale or comment submission to decide whether to accept it or not. I haven't had to use it yet, but I'm really glad it's there. An activity that I did for another class is that they had to sum up Hamlet by creating 10 quick tales, 2 per act. Most of the students took really cool photos of objects or artwork. One of the students had his friends recreate a scene and then freeze so he could take a photo. He actually used different voices when he recorded the audio for each photo, as if one of the characters was describing the scene in the photo. It was crazy creative. So I've thought of many ways that science and social studies, history teachers could use quick tales, and so I've shared it with them. And I'm not really sure about math. I can't really think of any, but maybe an actual math teacher out there could. One last note, quick tales can only be used by students who are at least 13. So I found all of this on their website, which is quicktales.com. And tales is probably obvious, but it's spelled Tales, like telling a tale. Anyway, that's all. Thanks, Chris, for all that you do. I look forward to having a real chat soon. And happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you, Batsheva. Couple things there. One, it's great to hear that there's going to be some new episodes of Overthrowing Education that should be coming out in 2026. If you've never listened to Batsheva's podcast, go check out Overthrowing Education. She does a fantastic job. So go give that a listen and push her to put out new content. Batsheva, I love quick tales. When I got your message, I was like, let me go check this out. So yeah, quicktales.com. Definitely, as a high school social studies teacher who is teaching students above the age of 13, this is going to get me to do some things in my classroom with my students in the second half of the school year here at the beginning of 2026. So this is an app I am personally very excited to check out and try and do something with in my project-based learning classroom. Thank you so much, Batsheva, for recommending it. Very excited for it. And if you're a math teacher, again, what could you do with it? If you're a math teacher, let's try and figure this out together. Feedback at chrisnessy.com or go to chrisnessy.com/voicemail and let's try and figure out how we can use that for math. All right. Next up, and this is my final recommendation for the episode before I play the last 3 that I received. This is my final Mac app recommendation, and this is called Rocket. Rocket. So what Rocket allows you to do, it's a free Mac app that makes typing emojis faster. And anywhere you can do text, you can easily insert emojis into your writing. It is free, and all you need to do to start typing an emoji is do the semicolon and then start to describe the emoji you're looking for, and Rocket will help auto-complete it in any app. There is a pro version, which I don't care about, but Rocket for free, definitely worth easily adding emojis. You can find it at matthewpalmer.net, and that's MATTHEW palmer.net/rocket. If you don't want to remember it, that's okay. The link is a swipe or a tap away in the app you're listening to this right now, or you can go out to chrisnessy.com/265. All right, next up, we've got Linda Hummer. Linda, what do you got for us here in 2025?
Hello, Chris Nesi and House of EdTech listeners. This is Linda Hummer coming to you from Ohio. I'd like to share with you today Desmos. Well, technically, now it's Amplify. I am not using it in a math class. I am using it in language arts to review phonics skills. I created 16 word cards to be used during the game. Students are paired up, and one student will type in a question based on a phonics skill. They might ask if the word has a digraph or does it have a Y in it? Perhaps it is a long vowel, a short vowel. Does it have a prefix? Does it have a suffix? Is it two-syllable? Those are the kinds of things they've worked on in their classes regarding phonics skills. This gives them a great chance to review that material. The part that I enjoy is they have to type in those yes/no questions. One student is asking the question, one student is answering the questions. Once they have figured out what the word is going to be, then Desmos gives them a question of their own. Once they've answered that, then they go ahead and click play again, where they will often get partnered up with someone else in the class that finished their game. This is a great way to review and works on not only phonics skills, typing skills, but cooperation skills among the students, as they should not be talking to each other while this game is going on. I hope that someone else can make use of this. Have a great day.
Thank you, Linda. Great recommendation. So again, you heard Linda's recommendation? Dig into it. A lot of people are going to find value from that for sure. Next up, I'm going to turn the mic over to awesome supporter, Matt Miller from Ditch That Textbook. Now, I do have to be transparent. Matt did not actually submit this. I follow Matt on TikTok, of course, because that's one of the places I like to learn. And this TikTok from Matt really jumped out based on what he's sharing. So Matt, I'm going to ask for forgiveness rather than having asked you for permission to share the audio from this TikTok video, but I'm sure it's okay. Matt Miller, take it away.
Teachers, do you know about brain freeze? No, not the kind that you get when you drink a slushie too fast. I'm talking about brainfreeze.ai, a new teacher AI tool. So you're going to go to brainfreeze.ai, and all you got to do is just log in. Of course, the nice thing about Brain Freeze is that for individual teachers, totally free. Once you get logged into Brain Freeze, you're going to have agents, spaces, knowledge, create an agent. And here are all of your agents. Physics in sports. I like this one. Tells kids how things are made. You've got your report card helper. You got a PBL designer, the permission slip pro. And of course, if you can't find an agent that you want, you can always go and create one yourself. You give it a description, you give the agent some instructions, and then check this out. You don't even have to code any of this stuff. You can tell it what kind of personality you want it to have, and then also what kind of output. Do you want paragraphs, bullet points, outlines, slides, single sentence? So one more time, that's Brain Freeze. Teacher, get it for free. You can get it at brainfreeze.ai.
Thank you for sharing that on TikTok, Matt Miller, and I'm glad I came across it. So brainfreeze.ai, I will include a link to the TikTok video because in the video, he's kind of, and he did a good job talking, so the talking worked. But if you see the video, you can actually see what he's referring to. But I still thought the audio was good enough to share here in the podcast form. So definitely go check out the video. It's in the show notes. Swipe or a tap away, or go out to chrisnessy.com/265 to check out his TikTok on brainfreeze.ai. All right. This brings us to our final submission, and I mentioned his name at the beginning of the episode because he is the curator of appsmackdown.com, friend of the podcast, friend of mine. He's been to the House of EdTech. I've been to Utah. The incomparable one-time substitute co-host, Derek Larson. And buckle up and get your notebooks because Derek does not disappoint. He still holds the world record for longest submissions on the House of EdTech SmackDown episode which I am totally cool with. So, Derek, thank you as always for supporting the podcast and for submitting something to the SmackDown. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the Derek Larson.
Hi, this is Derek Larson, a former guest and substitute host of the House of EdTech, and I am excited to be back to share a few of my favorite apps and recommendations from 2025. First off, I wanted to remind everyone to check out appsmackdown.com anytime to catch up and find links to all of the recommendations ever shared as part of the House of EdTech's App SmackDown shows since the beginning back in 2014. This is a document that you can see everything I go through regularly, and if things have gone away, I'm updating it as well, so that way we know that, okay, that app is no longer available. So check it out, see what you think, and maybe you'll find some awesome new apps to use. So I know every year I have a lot of things to share, so I've got a couple I want to share today. Hopefully I don't take so much time again, Chris. I'm sorry to eat up your show. But first off, I'm going to mention Google Keep. Google Keep is an app that I use almost every single day as a school librarian, as I'm doing different things in my building. Part of why I love it is because it is literally everywhere. At school, I'm a PC user, and at home, I'm a Mac user. On my phone, I'm an iOS user, but I also have a Chromebook that I use at school as well. So I'm all over the place. I'm everywhere, and I use all the different platforms. And Google Keep is great because if I make a note in Google Keep, I can find it anywhere I go on any of my devices. Because it's part of the Google suite, it is totally free as long as you have a Google account. So if you've never given it Google Keep a shot, I would say give it a shot, see what comes of it. It's a great tool, and I'm very, very happy to use it. One of the things I do love with my iPad, though, is I love the fact that I can do all kinds of work with it. One thing I dislike is because my school district is a Google district, the Google apps on the iPad are not great. They're not the best apps. I don't love them. I find that when I try to open something up, it wants to go to the app every time. I'm not a fan. But I recently found out that if you just open up in Safari on iOS, if you just go directly to like docs.google.com or sheets.google.com or slides.google.com, directly into Safari, it'll give you the web version. It will often want to bump you into the app. And so if you have the app installed, you may want to either uninstall the app or you just deal with that. And it gives you a much more full experience. So I found that as I'm working from my iPad, I often will go ahead and just hit that. And I'll hit the docs.google.com directly in Safari. And I'm taken right to a more full version. I wish Google would give the Google apps on iOS a better, more full feature, but they don't. And there's some pieces you just can't get to in the app. And so if you need to get around that, open up Safari and go to docs.google.com, sheets.google.com, or slides.google.com. You can bookmark them. I've actually saved them on my homepage in my Google folder. And so I literally can just hit it and it opens right up in Safari. It's great. So I'm a librarian. And so there's a couple of things I'm going to mention that have to do with books, just what I do. Sorry, if you don't love them, maybe it's time. But one thing I want to share, I know Chris has been talking a lot recently, and it's been all over the education landscape about AI and different AI tools. Well, there's a tool that I'm not a fan of, mainly, not just for the name, but because they've taken a name that I think is actually should be somewhere else, and that's Sora. I love the Sora reading app by Overdrive. I've shared about it in the past, but I'm upset because OpenAI has created their Sora video AI app, and they call it Sora, and their little icon or logo for the app looks very familiar, very similar to the Sora reading app's logo. So much so that recently Overdrive actually opened a lawsuit against OpenAI regarding trademark infringement, unfair competition, and deceptive trade practices over the use of the Sora name and logo. It's really sad that this had to happen, and they hadn't actually pursued anything major legal for a while until they were at a conference, I think this summer, and people kept coming up to the Sora Overdrive Sora reading app booth and kept asking about all the video creation and how there's some really not good stuff happening within it. So I bring this up because I think the app is awesome. Sora is a great app, the Sora reading app. but also because I think it's important to help kids to understand that if you have the Sora reading app, it is very, very different than the Sora video creation app by OpenAI. So I talk about that just to bring it up and kind of make a big point about that. One of the big things, anybody who is a reader probably has heard of the app Goodreads. And Goodreads is a way to track what books you're reading and keep track, and you make goals. It's great. It's a little social network based on reading. Well, some people struggle because Goodreads is owned by Amazon. I don't have a problem with that, but there's a group that's come out that they've created an app called StoryGraph, and you can find it at storygraph.com. And they're basically a fully featured Amazon free alternative to Goodreads. It's an all-in-one platform for your bookish needs. StoryGraph is great. I love StoryGraph. I've actually been using it alongside Goodreads, testing out to see if I want to get rid of one or the other. As of now, I'm going to keep them both. But if you are struggling with Amazon, but you still want to be able to track your different books you're reading and keep track of your to-be-read list, StoryGraph is a great alternative. It is absolutely free to use. They have iOS and Android apps that are great. If you have used Goodreads in the past and you don't want to lose your data, you can actually export it in Goodreads and then import that into StoryGraph. Depending on how big your library is on Goodreads, is how long it may take to upload into StoryGraph. But I have a fairly sizable library there in Goodreads, and it didn't take very long at all. So I would recommend, if you are a little disenfranchised with Amazon and Goodreads, give StoryGraph a shot. I think it's well worth it. And again, it's a great tool. It's not going to be it doesn't have all the same things that you see within Goodreads, but I think it's a great tool. They have great charts, great recommendations. Again, it's free to use, but they have a plus program where you can pay either $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. That gives you additional charts, additional filters, and just lets you know that you're supporting a company that's trying to compete against a behemoth that is Amazon. The next thing I want to talk about is a book. This is a book called How to Teach AI, Weaving Strategies and Activities into Any Content Area by Dr. Rochelle Dene Poth. Dr. Poth is amazing. She's a great, great educator, Spanish teacher, writer. She's all over the place. This woman is incredible. If you've never seen her or heard of her, go look for her, find her online and follow her. But this is a great book she's recently written, where you can get practical tools and strategies for teaching AI across the K-12 curriculum. And it's a great accessible guide. Lots of great examples on awesome ideas to help you fully better use AI in classrooms and schools, but also think about what's going on. We read this recently with USET, the Utah Coalition for Educational Technology, the Utah ISTE affiliate. We did a book study not too long ago, and it was a great read. I highly recommend it. You can find it on Amazon. I'll have a link on that at smackdown.com spreadsheet as soon as the show posts. Okay, the next one I want to talk about briefly is a tool that I've come back to. It's a tool called Instapaper, and this was shared back in episode 26, the very first SmackDown back in 2014. I didn't share it originally, but I've been an Instapaper fan for a long time. The last couple of years, I've been using a different tool that has shut down. So I've come back to Instapaper. I think it's a great tool. But I just wanted to make sure people knew these Read It Later tools are still around. You know, they're great tools. They allow you to save articles online to be able to read later. You can download it to an app. The apps are all free. They've got both iOS and Android apps. The basic account is totally free, but they have a premium, which gives you additional features if you are loving using it, $5.99 a month or $59.99 a year. What's also nice is Instapaper also includes Kobo integration or Kindle integration. So if you're a Kindle reader, you can actually send it to your Kindle. It is free if done over Wi-Fi. If you use your data, there may be some charges. I think there's also Kobo integration as well. So Instapaper is a great tool. Find an article you don't want to read right now, pop it in that read later, and then you pick it up on your device when you have time, when you actually want to read. I've got a couple of health tools, though. I think a lot of times as educators, we're so busy helping other people, we forget it to take care of ourselves, folks, and we need to be better about that. That's something that I don't do a whole lot of, like my word for the new year, but I am going to have a bigger focus on my overall health in 2026. And a couple of tools here that I've been using for a while are going to help me as I continue that. The first one is called Capsule. It's a medication tracker. Now I feel really old saying this, but man, as I'm getting older, I've got some health issues that I've actually been dealing with for a while, a few things, and I've got some pills I got to take. I've got asthma that actually picks up really heavy in the winter months when it's cold out, and so I've got to make sure I'm getting my inhaler. I've got to make sure I've got my medication. I'll also take some vitamins and some supplements at night. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I get ready for bed, I space it. It's gone. I've got reminders in other places, but Capsule is a great app that is available on iOS that lets you put your information in. And if it's a medication you got to take 2 or 3 times a day at certain intervals, you set it all up and it just rocks and rolls. It's a very, very cool app. The free app gives you a certain number of pills you can track, or you can pay $1.99 a month or $12.99 a year. And you can have unlimited medications to track. It's not a whole lot going on there. It's a very basic application, but I tell you what, it's nice knowing that it's there and not necessarily in my Apple Health data or some other big group like this. I don't know. Personally, I kind of like that it's separate from that. But it's called Capsule Medication Tracker. Again, I'll have a link, but capsuletracker.com. It's a great tool, and it's made by a small development company. The next thing, recently I've gotten myself involved in intermittent fasting. I think it's kind of helped me to become better at how I'm feeling and how my body is reacting. I never thought I'd be somebody who is regularly fasting, but intermittent fasting has been great for my mind and for my mental strength. And there's some awesome, there's been some nice physical benefits as well. But the app that I'm using is called Easy Fast at easyfastapp.com. This is an app that very basic, very simple, but is research backed. Okay. It's actually the app that is most trusted by the largest fasting community on Reddit. And within the app, as you're going through time, it gives you little alerts and says, okay, it's been this long you've been fasting for. Here's what's happening in your body. And lots of great science-backed tips with many, many references for each phase of the fasting cycle. It is awesome. It is a free account, free basic support. That's what I've been using. They have added in the ability to do one-time tips, and I've done that a couple of times. I've been loving this app. I've been using it since like April. So I've thrown some money to the developer. Again, it's all run by a single developer. He's incredible. But he's recently added in the ability to be a regular supporter, either monthly or annually. One of the biggest thing that adds is a secure cloud backup, so none of your data is lost, or it can be used between multiple devices. Again, this is an iOS and Android apps available. And if you have ever looked into intermittent fasting, Easy Fast is a great way to work. I love using it because I've got it on my Apple Watch as well. And it gives me little reminders, and I can see, oh, you've just hit 12 hours. Oh, you've just hit 18 hours. And I love it. It helps me to keep kind of focus what I'm doing. And it really gives me that ability to kind of take things that I need to get done. So Easy Fast. The final app I want to talk about is one that I've been using probably for 5+ years. It's called Sleep++. And that's with the little plus symbols. And it's found at sleep++.app. It's a great app that automatically tracks your sleep via your Apple Watch. So this is an iOS and Apple Watch only, not on anything else. And I like it because I like the way that it tracks and the data it gives me, even better than how the built-in iOS health app and sleep tracking app work. It is free with ads. They're not crazy ads, but if you don't like them, it's $1.99 to remove them. If you've ever heard of the app Widget Smith on iOS, _David Smith is what he goes by online. He's the same guy who's created the Sleep++ app. It is a fantastic tool. It gives you some great information. One of my favorite parts, though, is when you wake up, one of the scores it gives you is what's called a readiness score. When you wake up, you're all groggy, and it shows you what's going on. Here's how many times you were awake versus asleep versus all the different pieces. If you're looking for good sleep data and you're an Apple user, I'd look into Sleep++. Hey guys, I've taken way too much time this time, but I'm very grateful to have been able to share some thoughts. Again, I'm Derek Larson. I love, Chris, what you're doing here. I love the community. And I'm grateful that you've kept this piece up. I'm not participated every year, but I try to. And I'm looking forward to 2026 and seeing how much awesome you bring into the education world. Again, my name is Derek Larson. You can find me online pretty much anywhere as Lars3EB. Reach out, say hi, give me grief, whatever. I know Chris likes to give me grief because I still haven't started a podcast. Maybe 2026 is the year to go. Maybe not. I guess we'll see. But thanks, everybody. Hope you've had a great show. And let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
Thank you so much, Derek. I listened to that live. I didn't listen to the whole thing before playing it. I just did a little audio editing on the whole thing. And he brings so much to the table, doesn't he? So many great apps. It's not always just about education. Apps that will just make your life a little easier and a little better. And if your life is easier and your life is better and you're living your best life, you'll probably do your job even better. So thank you, Derek Larson. Maybe 2026 will be the year you start a podcast. I know we've already spoken about bringing you back onto the House of EdTech, maybe in January 2026 or in February. Maybe we can get that sparking again, which can lead to a fire, which can lead to you starting your podcast. Come on, Derek Larson. It's been 12 years. Let's start something. Come on. You got this. All right. Now, that concludes the House of EdTech SmackDown, but the episode is not over yet, so do not skip to the next episode in your podcast queue. Let's now flip it over to this episode's House of EdTech VIP. It has been quite some time since I included the House of EdTech VIP as a segment on the show, but this is the episode to do it in because that's right, you are the House of EdTech VIP for this episode. 2025 has been, quite the year. Okay. I only released, I think, 6 or 7 episodes this year, not for any reason other than at the start of this year, I was committed to only bringing you episodes when I really felt compelled to have something to share. So I want to thank you for listening to the House of EdTech podcast and sticking with me in a year where I didn't produce as much content as I would have liked to. But know this, every episode was very, very intentional. And I want to thank you for being a listener. If I've never heard from you, you've never sent an email or you've never sent a voicemail to me, I still thank you for listening. But I would love to hear from you after hearing this. Send me an email, feedback@chrisnessy.com. Send me a voicemail. Go to chrisnessy.com/voicemail. You can send a voicemail there. You can call the House of EdTech hotline. The number is always 732-903-4869. I mentioned this in the special bonus episode about the SmackDown, which that episode is no longer available because it was just temporary in the podcast RSS feed. But this episode is not going anywhere, so I want you to hear this. I want your feedback. I want your contributions. There are a lot of education podcasts out there, right? Some you listen to, some I listen to. I can't listen to everything that's out there. But here's what I do know. There's a lot of education podcasts that do not care what you think. They do not care if you email. They don't even invite you to email or send feedback. And even if you did, they're probably not going to respond to you. They're not going to play your voicemails on their podcast episodes. I consider myself to be not old school, but yeah, I'm going to go old school. I'm an old school podcaster who loves this medium. I love connecting with people. I've done interviews in the past. I want to connect with you, my listener. Okay? So I want your feedback. I want your questions. I want to know if you loved an episode. I want to know if you didn't like an episode. I want to hear from you. Consider rating and reviewing the podcast where you listen to the podcast. I haven't gotten a review in quite some time. So be the House of EdTech VIP and let me know that you're out there. Okay? That gives me the gas in my tank, or if we go 2026, that charges my electric engine to know that the podcast has a purpose. Yes, I learn by sharing, but I would also get more value out of it personally to know that you are out there. So remember, when you're listening to that podcast on education that never asks what you think and, maybe you've got something to say, I'm here. I am here. I want to hear from you. Cannot stress that enough. And maybe 2026 will be the year that you and I connect. Maybe we'll meet somewhere. Maybe I'll get a voicemail. Maybe I'll get that email. But anyway, thank you for listening to this podcast. You make the podcast go. So please consider sharing it, rating it, reviewing it, and connecting with me and being a part of it. Okay? That's it for this episode. I'm going to play the music, and I got some other nice things to say. Let's wrap up 2025 and this edition of the House of EdTech SmackDown. I'll repeat myself right here at the beginning of the outro, and I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the House of EdTech podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe or follow this podcast wherever you are listening so you make it a part of your anytime, anywhere professional development. Links and resources for this episode can be found on my website. Go to the show notes, chrisnessy.com/265. I also want to hear from you because, as I just said, I value your feedback and I want to know your perspective. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have thoughts or questions about this episode or any episode you've listened to. It's never too late to ask a question or share a comment about an education topic or an EdTech related topic. You can email me feedback@chrisnessy.com. That's CHRISNESI.com. Or leave a voicemail at chrisnessy.com/voicemail. I can't wait to connect with you. I also want to encourage you to share this podcast with another educator who would get value. I want you to spread the word because that's what we need to do. We need to share the things that bring us value. Help me reach as many educators as possible. Share the show on TikTok, share it on Instagram, make a short, do a screenshot of you doing something with your phone with the EdTech podcast you're listening to right now. I want to thank you in advance. Lastly, I want to invite you to become an awesome supporter. If you're getting value from my content, if you got value from this show, why don't you consider giving some of that value back? I'm incredibly grateful for the ongoing support of the following awesome supporters: Leo Calbush, Brian Carpenter, Aaron Cummings, Jeff Herb, and Matt Miller. If you've gotten value from the show and you would like to become an awesome supporter, it's easy. Visit chrisnessy.com/awesome. And I will say this, I'm about to make some changes to the Awesome Supporter program, and I think you're going to be very excited, so please stay tuned. Information coming soon. The next episode of the podcast is going to be episode number 266. That's going to come your way on January 11th, 2026. And I'm going to sneak something in here at the end. I have a new podcast idea for a new show, and I'm very excited that I'm going to be doing this experiment in 2026. It's going to start near the end of January. If you want to know more, send me an email about this new podcast I'm going to do in the education space. Until next time, thank you for learning with me. And remember, using technology isn't difficult. Just give it a try.